There are two types of people in outbound sales. The ones who blindly scrape leads and send cold emails to whoever they can find, and the ones who use data, automation, and filtering to make sure every email they send goes out to the right person. The difference, the first group wastes time, the second group books calls. I built a system that does exactly that. An automated workflow that finds SaaS leads, qualifies them, and makes sure they actually fit my ICP before I ever reach out. If you are new here, I'm Clarence. I run a lead generation agency that helps businesses land more sales using AI and automation. My focus isn't just on getting leads, it is on getting the right leads efficiently with as little manual work as possible. This exact system you see on screen is how I landed 7 clients in a single month. No manual lead scraping, no guesswork, just a fully automated workflow that brings in high intent prospects every day. I've spent months refining this process, and today I'm going to show you exactly how I automate SaaS lead generation and qualification so I never waste time on any bad prospects. Now, if you want to skip this setup and get this entire workflow instantly, you can grab it inside my school community. Inside, you'll get access to this automation, my business SOPs, and support from me, along with a group of people all working on scaling their own AI-powered lead gen agencies. If you're serious about building a system that consistently brings in high-quality leads, check it out. The link is in the description. But all right, for now, promo over. Let me show you this entire system. First, we'll break down the Apollo scraping workflow so you can see exactly how we're pulling these SaaS leads. Let's get into it. So first up, we use Apollo to clean a list of SaaS leads. I'm running this through Apify, which automatically scrapes lead data based on my criteria. Once it is triggered, the workflow sends a request to the Apollo scraper, which goes out and finds companies that match my filters. That data gets stored in a dataset, which we'll retrieve later on in the same flow. Let me quickly show you how I set up these filters in Apollo to make sure we're only getting high quality leads. As you can see, looking at the filters, I'm only pulling leads with verified emails, so every contact is actually reachable. Next, I'm targeting decision makers, so C-suite executives, owners, and founders, since they're the ones who actually make purchasing decisions. I've filtered for SaaS companies by using a keyword filter. SaaS companies with 5 to 30 employees, big enough to need outbound, but small enough that they don't have an internal sales team handling it already. For this campaign, I'm focusing on the US market, but you can adjust this based on your target audience. As I already said, finally, I'm filtering it for SaaS companies, filtering by an industry keyword to make sure we're only pulling in related leads. Once Apollo finds these leads, you can see it has found 16.4 thousand leads. The workflow takes over and starts processing the data. Now, here is the challenge. The Apollo scraper doesn't return data instantly. You could set the workflow, or you could set the endpoint URL to wait for the dataset to be ready, but there's a hard time limit for 4 minutes. And scraping a list of 16.4 thousand people, as I just showed you, will easily take way more than 30 minutes, which means the workflow would fail. So instead of waiting, we use a workaround. So first we trigger the scraper. Then instead of stopping the workflow, we merge and verify whether the dataset is ready. If the data isn't ready yet, the workflow pauses and checks again later. Once it is available, we pull in the leads and continue processing them. This way the workflow doesn't break. I'm not going in too much detail because this workflow, as you see it on screen, has already been showcased in previous videos. So if you want a full detailed setup, you can just go look for the Apollo scraper video on my channel. But to save everyone some time who's seen it already, I'll just jump straight ahead. Once the data set is available, we make sure we're not adding duplicate leads using this remove duplicates node. This step removes any duplicate emails or companies before pushing them to my CRM. And for my CRM, we use Airtable. After that, all the clean filtered leads get added straight to Airtable. I'll quickly show you my Airtable so you guys have an idea of what that would look like. So I did a very small scrape of only a handful of companies. As you can see, we have their first, last names, their email addresses, and their title and their company name. Enough for us to get started with the qualification and the enrichment. So that is the lead generation part of the system, scraping, filtering, and cleaning lead lists before we ever do some enrichment or sending out an email. Next, we'll take these leads, enrich them with LinkedIn data, check their pricing pages, and filter out bad fit SaaS companies. That is where the real magic happens. So let's dive into that next. Before ever building a qualification and enrichment flow like what you see on screen now, you need to start with your email template. So with writing your email copy. You might be wondering why. Well, this is because the way you structure your email determines what kind of data you need to scrape, what kind of data sources you need to scrape. For example, if you're writing a hyper-personalized first line, you need company insights or maybe some recent news. If you're referencing a company's pricing, you need to scrape their pricing page. Without knowing this upfront, you end up wasting time pulling data you don't actually need. So before we jump into the second part of this workflow, let's take a quick look at my email template inside Instantly. So my email template is always structured the same, or at least in a very similar way. So I always start off with a personalized line. This personalized line is written by AI. We'll get to that later on in this workflow. Then what I do is I come with my offer, kind of the attention grabber. So in this case, I say we help company overviews, companies like them, like the lead we're researching now or enriching, land meetings with their ICP, dealing with the pain point that they can actually solve using AI-driven outreach. So that is kind of my method, AI-driven outreach that delivers decision makers, not just replies. Then I have some social proof for another primary services SaaS. We booked 37 calls in a month, 12 converted, yada, yada. Week after the social proof, we add a guarantee. Adding a guarantee just kind of reinforces your offer, makes you look like an authority figure, and makes you come across very confident about your own abilities. After the guarantee, it is followed up by a CTA, a call to action. In this case, I'm just asking if it's worth a quick chat, yes or no. You could also be asking if it's okay to send over more information, kind of like more of a passive call to action, also works very well sometimes. Or you could ask to send over a personalized video if you have the time and the know-how to make a quick personalized video. It does greatly improve your conversion rate. All right, now that we know what kind of data we need, let's break down the workflow that automates all of it. So let me quickly take you back to the workflow. As you can see all the way on the left, the workflow starts when I manually check a checkbox in my Airtable. Checking that checkbox triggers a webhook, which sends the record ID of the specific lead into the workflow. This setup ensures I have complete control over when a lead gets enriched instead of automatically processing every new lead. Once the webhook fires, the workflow retrieves the full lead details from Airtable using the record ID. This includes the company name, their website, their LinkedIn URL, and any other data already collected. This step ensures we're working with a structured data set before running any enrichment. Before moving forward, we do a very quick check to verify if the company is based in the US or not, since this campaign only targets US-based SaaS companies. If the company is not in the US, it gets marked as not qualified in Airtable, and the workflow stops processing it. If the company is in the US, it moves on to the next step, which is scraping their organization's LinkedIn. At this stage, the workflow sends an ATP request to scrape all the raw HTML from the company's LinkedIn page. This includes everything visible on the page, from the company description to their exact employee count, industry tags, and other metadata. As you can see, the data is pulled in as raw HTML, meaning the next step will need to clean it up before we can analyze it properly. Once the LinkedIn page is scraped, we remove any unnecessary HTML from the extracted text. This makes it easier for AI to analyze and classify the company properly. As you can see on the left side, that's exactly the same stuff, but on the left side, you can see all of the HTML is still present. And on the right side, you can see only plain text is returned. The cleaned LinkedIn data is sent to a large language model, which is tasked analyzing the company and determining whether it's a good fit for outreach. The AI outputs a structured response with the following fields. If is bad fit SaaS is yes, the workflow marks the lead as not qualified and updates Airtable accordingly. If is bad fit SaaS is no, and the company is clearly B2B focused, it moves forward for further qualification. The number of employees field is also extracted to help refine targeting based on the company size, because sometimes lead databases like Apollo or LinkedIn Sales Navigator can be outdated, meaning the company size isn't accurately present in that database. We then use a bunch of if nodes to determine if the company is not a good fit. If it is not a good fit, it is immediately updated in my Airtable and the status is changed to not qualified, meaning also the workflow stops processing it. At this stage, we filtered and enriched the lead with LinkedIn data. Now we shift to analyzing the company's website to extract valuable URLs like pricing pages, funding pages, and you could also use case studies, for example. So the HTTP request node, which I've called the header links scraper, scrapes all of the HTML from the company homepage. In this case, it is www.hotglue.com. So we scrape their entire homepage. This includes all of the navigation links, but it also includes all of the text present on that homepage, which we could use later on if you want to use the enriched data from the homepage to fill in some variables for your email template. As I said, inside of this HTML are also all navigation links which are present on the homepage. So also all links to, in this case, pricing pages, for example. What we do to extract those URLs is we use a code node, which filters the HTML and only outputs us any links. As you can see, dash unified accounting, dash unified e-commerce, and there's a lot of pages, but somewhere is also probably a roadmap, case studies you can see above, probably some pricing somewhere as well. So after removing the raw HTML clutter, this step isolates actual internal website links that may contain useful information. The goal here is to get a list of all pages that belong to the company's domain and have potential lead qualification value. At this point, we may have dozens or even hundreds of internal links. In this case, we have 206 links. They are all outputted individually. So what we need to do is turn them into a single item. To do so, we use another code node. This code node turns all of the separate items into a stringified text, which makes it much easier for the LLM, which comes after this, to go through the list and determine any valuable URLs. So as I said, the AI model that comes after now analyzes all extracted links and classifies them based on their relevance. It looks for specific patterns that indicate important pages, such as pricing pages. You could tell it to look for funding pages, case studies, testimonials, or product pages and solution pages. Once identified, only the most valuable URLs for your specific use case are passed forward for further scraping. Well, in this case, I only told it to look for pricing pages. So the only output that it gave us was the URL or the navigation link to the pricing page of hotglue.com, of which we scraped the homepage. However, if no pricing pages would have been found, the workflow simply skips the pricing analysis and moves forward with the remaining enrichment steps, meaning that even if pricing isn't available, but the lead still passed all other qualification metrics, the chances are pretty big that they are interesting for us to reach out to. So it still goes through the rest of the enrichment process, where the variables for the email template are determined, the company name is cleaned, as I always do, and a personalized line is written. Then it is all updated to my CRM and it's automatically uploaded instantly, which is the email service provider I use for automated outreach. But now let's move on to the branch of this flow for in case the pricing pages were available and were determined by the LLM. So now that we have identified a potential pricing page, the next step is to extract the actual content and analyze whether the company is low ticket or high ticket SaaS. Since companies may have multiple relevant pages, for example, different pricing tiers or regional pages, the split out node ensures that each pricing page is processed individually. In this case, there's only one page, so you can see that one item remains one item even after the split out node. Then each pricing page is sent to a HTTP request node, which extracts the raw HTML from the page once again. This pulls all visible text, including plan names and descriptions, pricing models if they're on the page, maybe even some information if they have free trials or freemium mentions. If multiple pages were processed, the aggregate node is supposed to merge all extracted data into one single structured response. This ensures that the AI has access to the full pricing structure before making a decision. Of course, since there was still a lot of HTML present in the scrape, we need to use another code node to filter out that HTML. Once again, on the left side, you can see a very messy item, and on the right side, you can see all of the HTML filtered out and only the plain text returned. Now that the pricing data is clean, the AI determines pricing by analyzing the following: whether pricing is publicly available or requires a demo call, if the company offers a free plan or freemium model, whether it qualifies as low ticket, meaning less than $50 per month, or high ticket. And it is supposed to, once again, output it as a JSON, so it is easier for us to use it in future nodes. If the AI detects freemium, free plan, or low ticket pricing, the lead is flagged as low ticket and the workflow updates the lead in Airtable as unqualified. If the pricing suggests enterprise sales, custom quotes, or high ticket tiers, the lead continues for final enrichment because that is interesting for us to reach out to. Now that we have filtered out low ticket SaaS companies, let's move on to extracting additional company details for final outreach personalization. The next step is kind of the same as it was for the companies who didn't have any pricing on the website. The company analysis is done based on LinkedIn data. This ensures that every lead has a comprehensive profile before being sent for outreach. The Analyze Company LinkedIn node processes all extracted LinkedIn data and structures it into a detailed company profile, as you can see on the right side. The next step expands on the previous LinkedIn scraping by extracting the company size and exact employee count, industry classifications, announcement and growth, marketing positions, and differentiators, for example. So no matter situation, we always have enough to qualify the company and highly personalize outreach. Since the AI processes LinkedIn data into structured JSON, the JSON into text node converts it into a format suitable for analysis and personalization. So all it does, it takes the individual JSONs and puts it into one large item of text. At this point, the workflow checks whether the company has funding information available. If funding data is present, meaning if the organization's LinkedIn scrape returned us any information from a funding round. In this case, it did, as you can see here, looking at funding information. So on November 11, 2024, Hot Glue, which is the company we scraped the information from, raised $4 million in a seed funding round. Very interesting for us to write a highly personalized line about. Not only is it quite recent, November 11th, but it's also quite a huge milestone for the company. So it's a good topic to pick as a personalized email opener. If no funding data would have been available, the workflow moves forward using an alternative personalization source, such as company growth trends, recent announcements, or industry-specific insights. In this case, I chose that if funding information about the company wasn't available, the workflow defaulted to a high converting generic sentence that still feels natural and engaging. The determine variables node processes the LinkedIn analysis from the previous LLM and funding data to extract the most relevant insights for outreach, meaning it gives us the answers to the variables we need to inject into our email template. This ensures that every cold email includes a compelling company-specific detail, making the outreach feel highly personalized. Next up, cleaning the company name. I already touched upon it a bit. Before inserting the company name into the email, this step removes unnecessary suffixes such as LLC, Inc., Limited, Corp., you name it. This is done because company suffixes aren't natural in conversation and would make the email opener or the email in general, no matter where you place it, feel robotic. Bringing us on to the last large language model node, which is tasked to write or generate a highly personalized first line opener based on the strong insights. In this case, if funding data is available, it highlights any recent investment or investor backing. So I'll quickly read you the outputted line. Congrats on raising $4 million in your seed round with 8VC, Y Combinator, Correlation Ventures, and Wayfinder Ventures. Exciting times for Hot Glue. How are you planning to accelerate development efforts with this new funding? So it not only writes a personalization about how much money they raised and the investors that are backing them now, it also immediately transitions kind of into the next part of the email, which is my offer, by turning this over into saying, exciting times for Hot Glue. How are you planning to grow as a company? Which is kind of the perfect opener for me to introduce my offer of helping them get more leads and grow their business, essentially. As I said, if funding information would not have been available, this would have sent this down a different route, and a pretty generic personalized line would have been filled in by the AI. You could also choose to go for a different data source with different variables, which are always present on either the company website or the company LinkedIn, because we've scraped both data sources. But having something like, are you currently manually doing your outreach or have you thought about automating it, can also work perfectly. So at this stage, the fully enriched lead is updated to my Airtable with funding details, personalization variables, cleaned company name, and the full LinkedIn analysis, which can be used by your sales team to prepare for the sales call. The lead is then pushed to instantly, ensuring that only highly qualified personalized leads enter the outreach campaign. With funding insights, LinkedIn analysis, and structured personalization, this workflow ensures that every email sent is targeted, relevant, and optimized for high response rates. Now let's take a look inside instantly to see the final result. The lead should now have been uploaded to my Instantly campaign, and if I press on preview, we should see this email template being filled in. So yes, it worked. So the first name of the lead was Irfan. Then we can see the personalization, which is the exact same personalization as was written by the AI. And we can see that the variables like company overview, ICP of lead, pain point lead solves are also filled in. So we help rapid integration solutions, SaaS teams land meeting with software developers needing integrations, dealing with fast, scalable data connections, using AI-driven outreach, and that's exactly the rest of my template. This is what makes the difference between random cold emails that get ignored and highly targeted outreach that gets replies. Instead of just using first name or only company name, like most people do, this email now has a personalized first line based on real company insights, context on their funding, a message that feels custom written even though it is fully automated. This means that every email I send feels like I sat down and wrote it manually, but in reality, this entire process runs on autopilot. Just think about the advantage this gives you. Instead of spending hours researching leads one by one, you now have a system that finds, qualifies, and personalizes everything without you lifting a finger. This is why my response rates are way higher than the typical cold outreach campaign, and why this workflow has helped me land multiple clients in a single month. But alright, that wraps up the full breakdown of my automated lead generation and enrichment system. If you want to skip the setup and get this entire workflow instantly, you can download it inside my school community. Inside, you'll get access to this automation and many more, my business, SOPs, and direct support from me, along with a group of people all scaling their own AI-powered lead gen agencies. So if you're serious about building a system that brings in high-quality leads on autopilot, check it out. As I said, the link is in the description. I want to thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.